Welcome back to MonsterInvest. I'm your host, Daniel. I want you to close your eyes for a second. Imagine you are standing at the edge of a cliff. Below you is a fog, thick, gray, impenetrable. Behind you is a pack of wolves. The wolves represent your job, your stress, the endless emails, the commute, the boss who doesn't respect you. You have to jump into the fog. But you're terrified. Why? Because you don't know where the ground is. Is it 10 feet down, or is it 1,000 feet down? That fog is your retirement number. Most of us stay on the cliff, fighting off the wolves until we are 65 or 70 years old, simply because we don't know how deep the drop is. We are paralyzed by a single, terrifying question: do I have enough money? Today we are going to clear that fog. We are going to build a bridge. This isn't going to be a quick 5-minute tip session. Today we are going deep. We are going to spend the next 20 minutes dissecting the mechanics, the math, and the psychology of early retirement. We see the headlines everywhere. Suze Orman says you need $5 million, or financial guru says 10 million is the safe zone. These headlines are designed to do one thing: keep you working. They sell fear. If you believe you need $10 million, you will never stop working, you will keep feeding the system, and you will never claim your freedom. But what if I told you the math they use is wrong? What if I told you that for most people listening to this right now, the number is drastically lower? To understand this, we need to stop thinking like consumers and start thinking like investors. We need to look at 3 very different lives. Let's start with our first case study, the cautionary tale. Meet James. James is 42 years old. He's a director of marketing at a tech firm in San Francisco. James makes $300,000 a year. By all accounts, James is rich. He wears a $10,000 watch. He leases a Range Rover. He sends his kids to private school that costs $40,000 a year. He goes to Tulum for vacation. But James has a secret. He is terrified. Because James spends $290,000 a year, his burn rate is massive. Now meet Alina. Alina is 38. She's a physical therapist in a suburb of Atlanta. She earns $85,000 a year. She drives a Honda Civic she bought cash 5 years ago. She cooks at home mostly, meets friends for hikes instead of expensive brunches, and she invests the difference. Alina spends $40,000 a year. Here is the brutal truth that Wall Street doesn't want you to focus on. Wealth is not about income. Wealth is the gap between your income and your ego. If James stops working tomorrow, he is bankrupt in 2 months. If Alina stops working, she has options. So how do we calculate the exact number needed to walk away? We use a formula derived from the famous Trinity study. It's called the Rule of 25. The Trinity study was conducted by professors at Trinity University. They looked at stock market data going back decades. They ran simulations. If a retiree has a mix of 50% stocks and 50% bonds, or 75% stocks and 25% bonds, how much can they withdraw every year without running out of money for 30 years? The answer was 4%. If you withdraw 4% of your portfolio in year 1, and then adjust that dollar amount for inflation every year after that, you have a roughly 95% to 98% chance of success. So the math is simple. You take your annual expenses and divide by 0.04, or much easier, multiply your annual expenses by 25. Let's look at James again. James spends $290,000 a year. $290,000 times 25 equals $7.25 million. That is James's freedom number, 7.25 million. Even with his high salary, saving $7 million is a monumental task. Taxes eat half his income, and his lifestyle eats the rest. James is trapped on a treadmill set to maximum speed. Now let's look at Alina. She spends $40,000 a year. $40,000 times 25 equals $1 million. Alina needs $1 million to be completely free, not 5 million, not 10 million, just 1. And here is where it gets interesting. Once Alina hits that number, let's say she has 1 million invested in a total stock market index fund, she can withdraw $40,000 a year forever. In good years, the market might go up 10%. She takes her 4% and the other 6% stays in the pot to grow. In bad years, the market might go down, but because she has a buffer from the good years, she survives. But I know what you're thinking. I can hear the objections through the microphone. Daniel, that's great for a single person in Atlanta, but I have a family. I have 2 kids. I have a mortgage. I can't live on $40,000. Fair point. Let's bring in our third case study, the real-world family. Let's call them Mark and Sarah. They are in their early 40s. They have 2 kids, ages 8 and 10. They live in a moderate cost of living area. They sit down to do their budget. They don't want to live on rice and beans. They want a good life. Mortgage $2,000 a month. Food $1,000 a month. Utilities, internet, phones $500. Cars paid off, just maintenance gas $300. Kids' activities, soccer, piano, $500. Travel, $5,000 a year. Health insurance, we will get to this big one later, $1,200 a month. Miscellaneous, $500. When they add it all up, let's say their freedom life costs $80,000 a year. Okay, let's do the math. $80,000 times 25 is $2 million. Now $2 million is a lot of money, but for a dual-income couple working for 15 to 20 years, it is absolutely achievable. If they invest in their 401ks, their IRAs, and a brokerage account, compound interest does the heavy lifting. But wait, there are risks. We have to be honest about the risks. The rule of 25 is a rule of thumb, not a law of physics. Risk number 1, sequence of returns risk. This is the monster under the bed. Imagine you retire with your $2 million. You hand in your resignation letter on Friday. On Monday, the stock market crashes 40%. This is a disaster, because if you withdraw money while the market is down, you are selling more shares to get the same amount of cash. You are cannibalizing your portfolio before it has a chance to recover. How do we fix this? We use something called a cash tent or a bond tent. This means for the first 3 to 5 years of early retirement, you keep 2 to 3 years of expenses in cash or very safe bonds. So if Mark and Sarah need $80,000 a year, they might keep $240,000 in a high-yield savings account or short-term bonds when they retire. If the market crashes the year they retire, they don't touch their stocks. They spend the cash. They let the stocks recover. This simple strategy protects them from the worst-case scenario. Risk number 2, healthcare in the USA. This is the biggest question I get. Daniel, what about health insurance? I'm too young for Medicare. In the US, if you retire early, you have to buy your own insurance on the ACA, Affordable Care Act, marketplace. And yes, the sticker price is high. It could be $1,500 or $2,000 a month for a family. However, and this is a huge however, subsidies are based on your income, not your wealth. Listen closely to this. If Mark and Sarah are retired, their income is what they withdraw from their portfolio. But if they are withdrawing from a taxable brokerage account, a lot of that money is principal, money they already put in, not gain. The IRS doesn't count principal as income. Furthermore, if they pull money from a Roth IRA, that is tax-free. It doesn't show up as income at all. So a couple could be spending $80,000 a year, but their reported modified adjusted gross income, MAGI, might only be $40,000. At that income level, the ACA subsidies are massive. In many cases, early retirees find they pay less for health insurance than they did when they were working, simply because they look poor on paper to the government. This is a perfectly legal, structural advantage of the US tax system. Risk number 3, inflation. What if bread costs $20 in the future? The rule of 25 accounts for average inflation, but if you are paranoid, and it's okay to be paranoid, you can use the rule of 30. If Mark and Sarah want to be bulletproof, they take their $80,000 expenses and multiply by 30. That gives them a target of $2.4 million. That extra $400,000 gives them a withdrawal rate of 3.3%. At 3.3%, history suggests your portfolio will likely never run out. In fact, it will likely grow. Most people who retire on the 4% rule actually die with more money than they started with. Now let's pivot. We've talked about the math. Math is easy. Excel spreadsheets are logical. Humans are not. The hardest part of early retirement isn't the saving. It's the one more year syndrome. I have a friend, let's call him David. David is an engineer. He hit his number 3 years ago. He has the money. He has the plan. But every year he says, I'll just work one more year to pay for a bathroom renovation. Or, I'll just work one more year until the bonus hits. Why does he do this? Because the unknown is scary. Work is comfortable misery. Freedom is terrifyingly open. David is suffering from an identity crisis before he even leaves. He asks, if I am not an engineer, who am I? This leads us to a beautiful concept called coast fire or barista fire. Maybe you don't need to save the full $2 million right now. Let's go back to Alina. She has $500,000 saved. She is halfway to her 1 million goal. She is burned out. She hates her boss. Instead of grinding for 5 more years to hit 1 million, Alina could quit her stressful job and take a job she actually likes. Maybe she works at a bookstore. Maybe she works at a national park. Maybe she freelances 2 days a week. If she earns just enough money to cover her $40,000 expenses, which is very doable, she doesn't need to touch her investments. She lets that $500,000 sit there. Without adding a single penny to it, that $500,000 will double to 1 million in roughly 7 to 10 years thanks to compound interest. She is coasting to retirement. This changes the game. You don't have to sprint to the finish line and then collapse. you can slow down, enjoy the view, and let your money work in the background. So what is the action plan? If you are listening to this on your commute or while washing dishes, what do you do today? Step 1, track your spending, not what you think you spend, what you actually spend. Pull your credit card statements from the last 12 months, find the average, be honest. Step 2, define your freedom life. Do you want to live in the same house? Do you want to move to a cheaper state, or maybe a cheaper country? Geographic arbitrage is a cheat code, by the way. Moving to Portugal or Thailand can cut your expenses in half, meaning you need half the savings. Step 3, calculate your number. Expenses x 25. Write it down, put it on a post-it note, stick it on your mirror. Step 4, audit your gap. Income minus expenses equals your gap. Widen the gap. Can you earn more? Can you spend less? Every dollar you save reduces the mountain you have to climb. Step 5, invest the gap. Low-cost index funds, S&P 500 or total stock market. Don't get fancy. Don't buy meme stocks. Buy the whole haystack. And finally, step 6, build a life outside of work. Start finding hobbies now. Start building relationships now. If you retire from something, you must retire to something. If you don't, you will be rich, bored, and depressed. We've covered a lot of ground today, from James the overspender to Alina the saver, from the 4% rule to the ACA subsidies. We replaced the fear of the unknown with the rule of 25. We learned that your freedom isn't purchased with a higher salary, but with a lower burn rate. We discovered that the risks, like market crashes or healthcare costs, are not dead ends. They are simply variables to be managed with tools like cash tents and tax subsidies. And most importantly, we realized that you don't have to wait until the very end to taste freedom. Strategies like Coast Fire prove that you can design a life you don't need to escape from, starting right now. Retirement isn't an age, it's a financial status. It is the moment when work becomes optional. Whether you reach that at 35, 45, or 55, the math is the same. The fog is lifting. The cliff isn't as high as you thought. You just need to build the bridge. Thank you for listening to MonsterInvest. If this episode sparked a light bulb for you, please share it with your partner, your brother, or your colleague who hates their job. Subscribe for more deep dives into the mechanics of freedom. I'm Daniel. Keep investing, and I'll see you next time.